everybody, this is Karsten with Top Go Productions, and today we're taking a look at the final Commander 2013 pre-constructed deck. The Esper offering, Eternal Bargain, will be broken down today by Top Go Productions writer Max Kahn. The Esper deck features Oloro, Ageless Ascetic, with some support from Sidri Galvanic Genius and Sharum the Hegemon. Before we get into the details of these commanders, let's take a look at the notable new cards and reprints of Eternal Bargain. There are some powerful reprints featured in this deck, one of them being Kong Min Sleeping Dragon. This card is a welcome addition to every commander deck, as well as being a really cool card with an even cooler name. Sphinx of the Steel Wind, last featured in Premium Deck Series Graveborn, but ready to make another appearance here. It's a great finisher in this deck, and if you're not already ahead, you definitely will be after you cast this card. Limduel's Vault is another powerful reprint. This card is a super scry card and lets you go through your entire deck for a little life, not to mention the sweet new art. Filigree Angel is fantastic for almost every artifact commander deck, if you're in the colors. This card can single-handedly turn the game around by gaining you 3 life for each artifact. Note, this effect can be very abusable with cards like Sharding Sphinx and Deadeye Navigator. There's one more card that we need to mention just for the new art, Crawl Space. This is not only an extremely powerful card in Commander that prevents your opponent's alpha strikes, but just imagine that art in foil. New cards are one of the most exciting parts of the Commander precons, and Eternal Bargain received a few interesting ones. Tempt with Immortality. Letting other people reanimate creatures isn't very good, but if your deck is devoted to cheating fatties into play and everyone else just gets some random utility creature, this card will put you miles ahead. Tidal Force. This card rounds out the cycle of force cards seen throughout recent casual products. While this is arguably one of the worst ones, it can be very synergistic with cards such as Mana Rocks and even just lands. Toxic Deluge. An interesting mass removal spell with a nice upside of getting around indestructible creatures, not to mention the big price tag due to legacy implications. Order of Succession. With the amount of non-creatures in this deck, it's not surprising for you to get a creature without having to give one up. After looking through the reprints and new cards in Eternal Bargain, let's take a look at the generals to see what they can offer us. Sharum the Hegemon is a classic Esper Artifacts commander due to its artifact recursion and control and artifact interaction heavy colors. After getting tons of artifacts onto the battlefield and using Sharum to make it happen, this deck uses its explosive combos to finish off the game. Sharum can also be used for an artifact reanimator deck that cheats big artifact creatures into play to win the game. Oloro, Ageless Ascetic is the main general design for this deck, but is also a great general for a lot of other commander decks. This general is designed to gain you life and draw you cards. What more could you want from an Esper general? This is a perfect control-based general as it lets you gain life repeatedly, as well as combo nicely with other cards, such as Johnny's Mantra, Ivory Tower, and Venser's Journal. Sidri Galvanic Genius gives Esper Artifacts a new amazing card to consider. For a low cost of only 3 mana, it combines the abilities of 2 powerful cards, March the Machines and Basilisk Caller. While using the abilities to make a very powerful attack out of nowhere, this deck will also use some infinite combos, such as the one between Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meek, as well as Time Sieve and Thopter Assembly. Now let's take the Sidri deck, but make it a little bit more combo-oriented, while still trying to keep some money in your wallet, by adding only $25 in cards to the deck. We'll start by adding in some of the key combos for your deck. Thopter Assembly, Sword of the Meek, and Time Sieve, noting that Thopter Foundry is already in the deck. Thopter Assembly gives you 5 artifacts to sacrifice to take an extra turn with Time Sieve, and will then bounce itself during your extra turn to repeat the process. Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meek work very well together. You can sacrifice Sword of the Meek to Thopter Foundry to get a 1/1. The 1/1 will trigger Sword of the Meek, which will be brought back from your graveyard. You can repeat this process to get a 1/1 Thopter token for just 1 colorless mana. Let's add another combo that works really well in Commander, Mikaeus the Unhallowed with Triskelion. This is a powerful infinite combo that we covered in one of our Combolicious videos. Let's not forget one of the most powerful artifacts ever printed. No, not Black Lotus, but Mindslaver. With repeatable recursion, this card can get out of hand really quickly, but luckily this deck won't have that much recursion. There are some creatures with really powerful enter the battlefield abilities. Deadeye Navigator and Crystal Shard will help you reuse those cards like Filigree Angel and Mere Battlesphere over and over. Now let's take a look at some tutors and draw engines that we can add to the Sidri deck. Thirst for Knowledge is a powerful card for only a cheap cost. It's really powerful in decks that have artifacts like ours, forcing us to discard only 1 card. Sphinx Summoner, Trinket Mage, and Treasure Mage. These cards are just more ways to search for artifacts for the combos in the deck. Arkham Dagson is a tinker on a stick. One thing that is important to note is that you can target any player's artifact to make them sacrifice it, and then search for another, making you quick allies or enemies with an opponent. Staff of Nin is an auto-include in almost every commander deck, especially in an artifact-centric one, allowing you to draw extra cards and kill some pesky utility creatures such as Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, or Phantasmal Image. Darksteel Ingot and Chromatic Lantern are 2 mana-fixing artifacts that can help to accelerate your game and make sure that you have access to all of your colors. Darksteel Forge is a fantastic card that is very hard to deal with. Not only does the Forge give all of your artifacts indestructible, it makes itself indestructible, making your entire board very hard to wipe. This is also fantastic with Sidri, as a 9/9 with indestructible lifelink and death touch is pretty hard to deal with. Sculpting Steel is an artifact lover's dream. Not only does it copy your artifacts, but it can copy some of your opponents too. Does an opponent have a Font of Mythos or a Howling Mine out? Well, what a great time to play politics. Sanctum Gargoyle is a cheap artifact creature that can recur an artifact back to your hand. It's really good with repeatable effects, such as spell bombs and the capsules. Memnarch is a great artifact that can take over the game on its own, and by making things artifacts, it synergizes well with Sidri, being able to launch Death Touch and Lifelink catapults at your opponents. In total, that's 20 cards we can add with our budget. In order to make room for these new additions, we needed to cut a few cards from the general Eternal Bargain list. Since the Oloro deck had a general life gain theme, we needed to take out some of the cheap cards that just have a minimal life gain effect. Ajani's Pridemate, Azoria's Herald, Disciple of Grizzlebrand, Wall of Reverence, Cradle of Vitality, Survival Cache, and Well of Lost Dreams all will get cut. Now let's take out cards that are artifacts, but don't really contribute to the deck strategy. Tower Gargoyle, Tidehollow Strix, and Sun Droplet all have to go. The curses that came out in the commander decks are really cool, but don't contribute to the artifact strategy, so they'll have to go too. Beaters are great, but Marrowbats and Hooded Horror aren't artifacts or as powerful as cards like Divinity of Pride. Simple draw cards are sweet, but not great for the deck with the amount of tutoring we already have. Unfortunately, Deep Analysis, Greed, Diviner Spirit, and Brilliant Plan need to be cut. Oloro is a powerful commander, but doesn't interact with artifacts, so he's going to have to go too. This Sidri list is one that's combolicious and full of interesting things that you can do with just the 100 cards out of the box and an additional $25. Thanks to Max Kahn for his analysis, and thank you for sticking with us for all 5 of the Commander 2013 pre-constructed decks. What are your overall thoughts for the product as a whole? Let us know in the comment section below. Stay tuned for a 5-player gameplay featuring our takes on the precons as we return back to our normal schedule. I'm Carson with Top Go Productions, and as always, thanks for watching.